And we are live for another episode of First Strike. We're excited to be here tonight. Before we start the show, we're going to plug our sponsor, FaceToFaceGames.com, the #1 place to get your Magic the Gathering singles. Right now, the weekly sale is 25% off gaming supplies, which means this is the best time, if they're not gone already, to stack up on bricks of sleeves, dices, deck boxes, what have you. This is the best time to get it. Tonight we got, I thought we had finalnub in the chat, but looks like he's sort of disappeared. Oh no,
I was coughing. Sorry.
How's it going, John?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
I'm loving John. Even though we had him last week, we're bringing him back in to see what he's learned from the underground dojo. And here we also got my man Andy. We missed him last week on a lot of controversial topics, but how did your midterms go, my man?
They went better than expected. I made a quick post about it on Facebook, but I said one reason I think I'm a good student, I did well on 2 midterms today. One reason I think I'm a bad student, I did not know I had 2 midterms today. And that actually happened. I just showed up to class, and a girl was asking me how I was feeling about the midterm. I was like, I'm fine. And she's like, it's rough that we have 2 today, eh? I was, oh, okay. So just wrote a macroeconomics midterm on the spot, no studying.
Well, glad it worked out. John?
Well played, sir. Well played.
All right, let's go to the topic that wanted Andy on the show. People wanted to hear Andy's thoughts because Andy, Derek usually are pretty feisty and strongly opinionated about stuff. And this one, I find it really awkward because it hit so close to home, which is the topic of Dan Lanthier, caught cheating on camera, and then he was exposed for lying about his deck list. He likely had just 2 stomping grounds. And via Daniel Fournier, he showed an email that Dan Lanthier was emailing to premierplay@wizards.com. I'm just going to read it really quick. To whom it may concern, this past Saturday, I performed an illegal action in a DCI sanctioned tournament. The action itself and subsequent misinformation that was shared, which to this point are all very well documented and stand in complete defiance, not only to Magic tournament policy, but my past accomplishments honestly earned and the moral code I hold for myself. I can't explain or justify my actions, but know that I'm deeply remorseful and regret that all of the personal development that I've worked for in the last several years is left diminished as a result. Cheating has no place in Magic. I'm not the first player to ever break the rules of the game, and I most certainly will not be the last. As many have noted, in wake of this and past events, playing competitive Magic is a privilege, not a right. Having squandered that privilege, I ask that beginning with me and going forward that the penalty be permanent suspension from organized Magic. My hope is that this provides a strong deterrent for anyone in a similar position to mine to be tempted and make the same mistake, resulting in a healthier Magic experience for everybody. Dan Lanthier. Fournier goes to say, Lanthier asked me to share the statement, which he sent to Watsy yesterday. While I'm still obviously very upset about the cheating and the deceit, I'm satisfied that he's finally taking the correct steps forward in not returning to the game and fully admitting to his actions. Furthermore, I'm happy that he's correctly identifying one of the big issues with those who cheat and otherwise scum their way through Magic events. They're breaking the social contract of fair play that we must adhere to and should lose the privilege of participation. And of course, like the first reaction also of this letter is like, oh, is he martyring himself? Is he doing it so he's saving face? Is he doing this for his own good? He doesn't actually feel this way, but here, like maybe now, like the rule will change because of him, stuff like that. But let's go straight to your actually initial reaction to the cheat and the reaction to the statement as well, Andy.
All right, so my initial reaction to the cheat was that it looked incredibly smooth, and that I don't know. At first, Dan's original statement was that he was trying to correct the game state, but the first red flag that I saw go off, or red light, or whatever you want to call it, is that why would you not talk to your opponent about this? You're like, hey, I think I dredged too many. I'm just gonna slide this pup back in there, because your opponent would be like, oh, look, you did dredge too many. We'll fix that. That's an easy fix, and you could even, especially at a tournament like this, you could fix it with your opponent, with the judge, almost no problem. The fact that he didn't do that leads me to believe that the intentions of Dan Lanthier are as a cheater, and he is a cheater. And one of my least favorite, but the thing that hurt me the most about all this was that once he was caught, it was just lie upon lie upon lie piling up on social media about what he said was actually going on. So at first he claimed his list was different because he did not own 4 Copperline Gorges. He posts his list later, it has 4, and he says, oh, I was wrong about that, whatever. He could be flustered and that may be fine, but then he posts the list, he's like, this is the deck list that I played that weekend. Proven wrong immediately because it has 3 Arid Mesas in it and there's video evidence of 3 Arid Mesas. It has 2 Arid Mesas in it, there's video evidence of 3 Arid Mesas in his deck for that tournament. So he lied again. Once just proves more that he's a cheater. And one thing that I hate about this statement, which I hate a lot about it, is there's a line that says, stand in complete defiance of not only to Magic tournament policy, but my past accomplishments honestly earned. I don't believe you. I don't believe him for 1 second. There's other things that have happened now that I immediately question. And these are the kind of things that when they happen to someone with a great reputation, you can look past them. I remember at a Grand Prix, Dan Lanthier in a losing position, confiscation coups a Chandra that is about to ultimate. Do I think it's possible that Dan could have been very stressed and confiscation couped by accident, thinking, oh, I'm just going to coup this? It's possible. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Dan cheated there. I think there's other times he's cheated, and that a long list of things is going to come out, and it just shows that Dan Lanthier has been and will proceed to be a cheater, and in my opinion, he should not be allowed to ever play Magic again. And I hate this statement because he burned all of his bridges, he torched his social currency, and then he makes this Hail Mary play of like, look, Magic, I'm going to make you better. I'm the cheater of the people. Dan Lanthier, I will martyr myself for you. You're welcome, everybody. Like this, it doesn't make me feel good. Like, do I want him to get lifetime banned? Yeah. Do I want? Like, I don't want it to be because he asked for it, or I want basically it just to be he got lifetime banned because he cheated, not because he's trying to. Dan Lanthier is trying to make the game a better place. So that's how I feel about all that.
And what do you expect will happen though? Like I think we all expect the same old, nothing too crazy.
I expect 1.5 years. I think it would have been 6 months, but all the lying would lead it. All the lying that was found afterwards would make it 1.5 years.
All right, hopefully, my man, final nub. As someone who's like a sort of, I mean, I always laugh at everything. I say this all the time, John. When Andy, I don't know if you know this, when John like reacts to certain things to me, I just take it for granted that these things are new and awesome for someone that is freshly into competitive play. So like 2 years in, as John said last episode that he was on, and to me, I just take it for granted. It's like last time on Messenger, he's like, "Oh my God, someone messaged me because I said I didn't play Grishol Brand anymore on the First Strike podcast." And I'm like, yeah, people don't necessarily watch us live, but we definitely have listeners, and the stats back that up. John, what was your reaction to the cheat?
Look, maybe I can offer a pretty fresh third-party view here. I didn't know who Dan Lanthier was. I know he was kind of a prominent player in the Toronto area. The first thing that alarmed me was how smooth the cheat was. If I can recall back and refer to the Burton Cheney Kira cheat, it was such a smooth sleight of hand. If you're a normal person that's trying to amend a mistake, there's going to be hesitation. He did not even show that. It was clearly premeditated, in my opinion. And what Andy said holds true for the most part. I think I agree fully. For example, I'm looking at the email now, and nowhere in the first paragraph does he use the word cheat. He performed an illegal action, misinformation, etc. Does he anywhere say that I cheated, I'm sorry. And as far as I know, I don't think he's conveyed a message of the sort anywhere. This is the only form of communication I've seen from Daniel Lanthier since the event. And it really makes me wonder if this is just a gambit and just trying to get some sympathy points to not get banned for life here or whatever. And I think I agree the DCI will, or they should really ignore this email and basically conduct their own investigation and make their pragmatic ban. I personally think it's going to be like a year and a half. It's just really disheartening to see a high-profile previous GP winner like this being uncovered for cheating, because I've said it before, and other people have said it before. Cheating is stealing from people. It's stealing from people's time. Like just coming from me, I work full time. I have to plan these GPs ahead of time, flight, accommodation, et cetera, et cetera. This is my one escape to play competitive Magic for once every like 2-3 months. And if I find out that my opponent who I've lost to affected me in such a way because they cheated rather than because of fair play, I would be incensed. And I don't think anyone should really marginalize any form of cheating, to be honest. This, I think, clearly was very intentional. So I really hope that he gets what he deserves, but I really hope that he truly comes to appreciate the damage that he's done, and just becomes better, not in the Magic community, but in general as well, because I don't think this sort of behavior has a place in the world, period, let alone in Magic.
And again, when you were fresh into the scene, John, I mean, we had talked about Dan Ward winning the event that you top aided, and his sketchy pass, and he ultimately was confirmed as a cheater, if I'm correct, right, John?
He got banned for like half a year, I think.
So happened to you, even like so closely. It was in the top, and you played against him in the Swiss, right? So
well, I didn't, but I do have an anecdote. He was we were the backup feature match between me and Rossum. He and Syed were playing for the Winanin, and I think I kind of overheard him like just kind of unjustly, I think, hurried Zan on just pressuring him into taking like an untimely decision without giving him enough time. And I had met Dan for the first time, and I introduced myself, and he seemed like a well-intended guy. Obviously, I was wrong, and obviously really listened to Never Finish Book by its cover. But yeah, it did happen pretty close to the event that I was really close in. So it's very disappointing.
Righty. But we'll see. I don't think I don't know what the ultimate result is. Andy, what would you like to see though? Like you'd like to see lifetime, right? Is that what you say for Dan?
I would be fine with a lifetime ban for Dan, and for Dan to find some sort of happiness somewhere else.
Alrighty. Let's moving on to the other big source of controversy over the past week was an article posted on Hipsters of the Coast regarding Todd Stevens. Breaking news, Todd Stevens fired from Star City Games for allegedly sexually harassing women. Todd Stevens, content producer for Star City Games, has been fired from Star City Games and suspended for 3 years from the Star City Games Open Series for allegedly sexually harassing women. Sources tell Hipster of the Coast. Multiple sources have confirmed that Stevens was fired and suspended after a group of women reported his behavior Star City Games 2 weeks ago. They alleged that he had acted inappropriately towards them in at least 4 instances while he was drinking at parties after Magic events. According to a source familiar with the situation, Star City Games promptly responded to the woman's complaints and took their allegations seriously. Hipster of the Coast reached out to Star City Games on Saturday about the situation, but declined to comment and wouldn't confirm if Stevens remained employed by the company. On Tuesday morning, SCG tweeted that they are no longer contracting Todd Stevens to create content for our website, but were unable to further comment on the matter at this time. And Stevens has written for SCG, which is one of the world's most popular Magic the Gathering content producers, since February 2016. He joined Team BCW in December 2017 and started the Ponder podcast in April 2018. Stevens is currently 9th on the SCG Tour leaderboard and has been planning to play in the SCG Modern Open this past weekend in Dallas, Fort Worth. However, he does not appear to have played in the tournament. Okay, so that sums about it. Shocking news sent shockwaves on the Twitterverse, on the internet, in the Reddit world. John, what was your first reaction when you heard about this news?
Just horrible situation all around here. Very shocking. And after the fact, several SCG grinders, I think, came up and said, "Hey, you know, I'm glad he got this." They weren't surprised by it and all that. So I'm going to infer and assume that it was a very repeated pattern of actions. I know he was one of the most recognizable and popular streamer / content producer / player, and just I was a bit stunned when I heard it, and yeah, it's just horrible.
And Andy, what about you?
I was blown away by seeing a prominent figure abuse the social power that he has, and I'm upset that it was a pattern, and I'm upset that it all happened, and I'm not upset that he's banned, and I hope he stays away too. It was pretty. I was pretty blown away. Blown away is a good way to put it, because I didn't see it coming, and there's others who said that they did see it coming. They're closer to the situations than I am, but I had no clue. And kudos to those who were brave enough to speak out about it, and kudos to Star City Games for taking immediate action, or I don't know if it was immediate, but for taking action.
Well, certainly sounds like due diligence was conducted. I think it was 2 weeks ago that they first reported it. So I do hope that due diligence was conducted sufficiently, and this is a result of that the finding. So I really do hope that's the case. It was right, and I personally do wish that all the victims they find their peace and move out of this situation here. And for Todd Stevens as well. I'm not gonna. I think it's kind of inappropriate to speculate like whether alcohol had to do with it. One, a lot of people are speculating that because he had a lot of drunken Twitch streams, and he would get very belligerent. Let's not assume what degree, if any, of these like private problems they had. I don't think it's in our place to, nor do I think it would excuse any inexcusable actions like that. So I do hope that he gets appropriate punishment, whatever it is, comes back, reflects on himself, and just comes out a better person, whether it's in the magic circle or whether it's just as a functioning part of society. That's my opinion.
I strongly hope it's not in the magic circle. I'd be fine if he's gone forever.
Me as well.
It seems like there's a bit of, as per usual with any of this controversial news, some negativity, a lot of let's wait until we get all the facts, a lot that we're too early to jump on suspicions, and there's a lot of debates between different people, whether it be Reddit, Twitter, or whatever, Discord, on this subject. And I think at the end of the day, I really, as per usual, as the moderator, don't have not really comfortable talking about this touchy subject outside of being against this type of stuff, against cheating, against harassment of any kind, and that that people should feel that they could talk to people about this, that they could talk to me about it, and that I would believe you, and not no matter who it is, like no matter who the person in question would. I mean, I'm still shocked about the Dan thing, because man, we play tested a Pro Tour together, and I never suspected a single thing. But once I saw the video, it was just really clear cut to me, and yeah, all this has dampened me a bit, but I think that there's still good people. There's definitely a ton of good people in this game, and definitely I'm a little lost for words, guys. I'm a little lost for words.
I think one thing we can say really is like let's collectively be better about it. Let's be vigilant. If you see something that you think like there's something wrong with this picture, like let's like think about ways that we can like contribute and like remedy it. Whether and it doesn't have to be directly confrontational. It can be talking to the person. It can be just thinking about what the best way to approach this problem is. Like ignoring it or just turning the other way, I think only contributes to the problem. I mean, that's probably part of like what enabled whatever happened. So like let's all be collectively better, you know.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I wanted to say this, that so the people who are on like the let's wait it out stance on, for example, like Todd Stevens, for all intents and purposes, 100 out of 100 of these are true, for all intents and purposes. Obviously, it's not literally 100%, but it is such a minuscule number that you should always assume that like allegations like this are true, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I made the mistake of reading deep into the Reddit hive mind, for example, and there are some people that was like tweeting like I'm with him without like ever what it's one thing if you want to wait for evidence, but if you want to jump to that automatic conclusion to that side, like there's something wrong with you. I think like let's be a bit compassionate. Let's just like critically think and see, like just think for yourself whether you think it's true. So I don't know, like the Twitter sphere and the Reddit hive mind sometimes is very toxic.
I don't want to hear any garbage like that, and I don't want to give any garbage like that the time of day. So whatever's next.
Yeah.
All right. Let's now move on to some actual Magic playing content. Woohoo! We got you on the show, finalnub. You were in the dojo. You were working on some standard, but let's go straight to modern. Modern, there's got to plug that in November, in the middle of November, there's the Calgary Open Plus 5K event where the finalists each get a spot at this SCG of the upcoming SCG Invitational. Not only that, you get $400 towards the flight, so you don't have to worry about a super expensive flight. We're going to try to cover as much as possible of it. So you can go there, and the SCG Invitational itself is just a great high-value tournament money. So definitely try to qualify. And I know the Calgary Open Plus is always a packed event. So let's go with modern, and let's start with this Steam-kin event, Steam-kin deck rather, that ended up winning the Modern Showdown in Toronto at Face to Face Games Toronto. You took a look. It features a freshly new card from Guilds of Ravnica. So, real or fake, Mr. finalnub?
Well, first of all, there's more than one. There's Steam-kin, there is the Arclight Phoenix, and some lists even play Risk Factor. It's a brand new archetype. I'd actually tested this pretty extensively for the last week here. I know Jerry Thompson wrote quite a bit about it, Ari Lax as well. My friend Warren Smith, who those two have quoted and credited with some of the ideas. Holy Diva, the streamer, has been very prominently speaking about it. It's fun. If you've ever played Standard Red, you know those Steam-kin combo turns with Experimental Frenzy, which is pretty nasty. The deck is good. The deck is explosive on its fundamental turn, or it can be explosive kind of rarely when it can get the multiple Arclight into a graveyard into attacking sort of turn. But I found that one, it's not that consistent, and Faithless Looting is by far the best card in the deck. And when it doesn't have it, it feels very mopey. And two, it's suffering collateral damage from the Dredge resurgence. And without your graveyard, Arclight Phoenix is a 4-mana insectile aberration. No one wants that. And Reveler is more or less uncastable. And I think the power level is not high enough, nor is it fast enough. It's somewhat resilient, and there's Reveler, there's Arclight, there's ways to keep chaining spells to keep the Arclights coming. But I think there is a lot of work to be done still. That is not to say that there isn't potential, because I think there is. And personally, I think one of the problems is that it doesn't have a concrete payoff for the Steam-kin turns. It doesn't have like a Bangfire. It doesn't have like Reforged Soul. I don't know, but Lax suggested Act on Impulse, which I think is very good. The other thing might be splashing a color. It can't ever beat a graveyard deck right now, but an idea I had was Thing in the Ice and adding blue for a Charter Course and or Is It Charm. And I think that as a bonus, a funny bonus, Reveler is also a horror. So when Thing in the Ice flips, Reveler does not get returned. And it deals a lot with the creature matchups. So I think there's work to be done. I think there's potential, but as someone who is preparing for GP Portland and the RPTQ, modern RPTQ in December, I'm kind of off the deck, but hopefully optimistic that the Hive Mind will find something.
Okay, so not something you're gonna test in the dojo.
I had been working with the underground cabal, so to speak, but there were games which was impressive, but it's linear. It can't ever beat the card Tarmogoyf. It can't ever beat a graveyard deck. There's a lot of holes, and I think it needs a lot of work. Personally.
Because so you had talked about like people were disappointed. People were messaging you about like why are you giving up a Griselbrand? Why are you turning your back on us? And you had predicted that Dredge is likely the better graveyard deck. Were you surprised by the SCG results that we're seeing? One finished second, one finished third. Humans, bunch of human decks. Ultimately won by 4-color Death Shadow. Initial reaction to that top 8.
Look, the fact that Dredge was everywhere, not a surprise. Caleb Schur did not play Storm. He played Dredge. Zach Elsick, I think, was also on Dredge. And if you played on Magic Online at all over the last 2 weeks, Dredge was everywhere. I think if you are a competitive player, you should have expected this. And if you wanna point out how warped it is right now, Zanside's humans list in the top 8 actually played 2 Tormod's Crypt and 2 Grafdigger's Cage. When your humans list is playing actual factual graveyard hate, that's when you know something's up. And as a player who's trying to aspire to winning, I think it's irresponsible to play a worse version of something, and I think that's what Griselbrand unfortunately is right now.
Is there a way for Griselbrand to come back? Under what conditions would it be the better graveyard deck?
I think Tron and Valakut are well positioned right now. Valakut, if they can main deck Relics, main deck Angers, have a relatively fast Goldfish, I think it's very well positioned. Tron with Wormcoil Engine and main deck Relics and a bunch of sideboard hate, I think it's very well positioned as well. And if these factors suppress humans, I think there's a chance that we can come back. Or otherwise, really, I've seen Elves list play Leylines of the Void against me. It's completely untenable right now. So I think it's fine to have this in my back pocket as part of my range, and I'm okay shelving it for now, but it's very hostile.
I love it as part of your range. So what would you start with testing if you were someone interested in GP Atlanta or whatever, or GP Toronto, all these modern tournaments? What would Coach finalnub say to his students?
I think big mana is the place to be right now. As I said, Valakut still has a respectable Goldfish, and its interaction is very good right now. Between Anger, Relic, and you can even splash black for Slaughter games because a fast combo is a very weak part of its metagame breakdown. That can be good, or you can splash white for timely reinforcement, Rest in Peace, and or Stony Silence. I'm not sure if that's needed, but it's just an idea. Tron, I think, has a pretty good matchup against humans, and its predators right now are being suppressed right now. Like Burn, for example, went from a pretty good matchup with Dredge to unwinnable because of Creeping Chill game 1, and it depends on what kind of sideboard cards you have. I think these subtle shifts in the metagame really dictate that big mana is the way to go. The other way to do it is to go over the top with Amulet Titan or faster combo Ad Nauseam, or even Infect. Where's Jeskai? Where's Jund right now? it's nowhere to be seen. Why don't you just go even faster? I think those are my ideas right now.
Andy, is Modern on your horizon? Are you playing much Modern? Do you care?
Well, I played in a face open a couple weeks ago, and Dredge being back at such a rate is pretty terrifying as a humans player. So I'm not surprised to see 4 cards in the sideboard for Dredge, like 2 Cage and 2 Tormod's Grip. Makes sense to me. I think those Lotus Box people do a very good job with the humans deck, and I think I like that list going forward. And props to Holy Diva for creating this like essentially totally new archetype. As far as I knew, she was the main creator of the first one, like the mono red Runaway Steam-kin Arclight Phoenix deck. Crazy. I personally could never come up with something so original. So props to them.
Don't worry, I'm just a net decker too.
You are? You're the godfather of Grishelbrand.
Yeah, what part of the net
guy?
did you find that?
No, that's Bob Wang. I just carry his torch. I'm a net decker at heart.
I still remember when we first had him on. He's the guy. Final nub. And I know like when we had you last on, you were trying to explore a way out of the green-black standard mess. Do you think you have a solution for us, John?
I kind of think so. It's been a trend, and I think it's not archetypical, but like focusing on a single card. I think a card that's criminally underplayed right now is the card, the Immortal Sun. I think as the format slows down, like there's barely any like small red aggro right now. A 6 mana win the game, or put you ahead kind of an artifact that shuts down planeswalkers. I think it's great. Noted Magic Online grinder, I think his name is Tulio Jody. He had an Abzan list that was basically green-black, splashing for Night of Autumn and March of the Multitude. I think the March of the Multitude is very good in the mirror. I also think that he doesn't play any planeswalkers, so he can slam the Immortal Sun, and that shuts off Vraska, both of them. That shuts off Vivian Reed, shuts off Teferis or Ral Zarek, and it makes the creatures bigger, obviously, and it's immense card advantage. And best of all, a Braid is not around anymore. And what kills the Immortal Sun right now? Like the Assassin's Trophy is very taxed right now, right? Some people, like maybe yourself, Derek, are going back to Contempt. So I think the answers for the Immortal Sun is very, very little right now. And I would be interested in exploring that card a bit more, whether it's an Abzan, or I've been a fan of the big red archetype with Wily Goblins and maybe Sarkhan that Rapo online has been doing well with. So why not take out the Karn Scion of Arza and start playing the Immortal Sun? So I think that's the direction we're going here, and I think we're all slowing down, getting grindy, and maybe the solution is to go under again. But I'm interested in going bigger right now.
Ooh, welcome back to the show, Derek. What do you think of as someone that's green black is everywhere? Last episode, what do you think about John's little theory here of on the Immortal Sun? What's your take?
I think it's really cute and not that applicable. Basically, John or Final Nub already went over a trophy being a good answer to it, which I think is basically the best answer to it currently. You have, like, I play 2, some people play 3. If you just answer the Immortal Sun, like the deck can't play more than 2 really because it's legendary, and then you get bogged down on non-creature spells. So if you like go all in on the Immortal Sun, like you're just gonna get ground out by other decks also, right? Like maybe it's good against green black, but what about Jeskai? What about Arclight Phoenix? What about Mono Red, right? To me, like you may be beating the green black deck, but I just don't think that you're beating the rest of the format.
No, the Underground Dojo.
Listen. People started playing that big red deck against me also, and I just put like a Reclamation Sage in my sideboard, and you just play it, and they chain roller it, and you just like fine broker it back. and then blow up something else. Like, yeah, please kill it. I want to loop this this reclamation sage. So I don't know. I think there's always an answer in green black. There's always a card where you're like, oh, I have a card. Well, green black has another card. They just have to know what's coming down the pipeline, you know.
But what do you think about this Abzan list that this grinder has been doing well with? Apparently, I mean, Abzan splashing white for March seems kind of good, and I understand your point about trophy and the Immortal Sun, but I think let's say if it sticks, it's a very good answer, and none of your planewalkers, or if you're playing them, work, and they can't decay it with Vraska or anything like that. So I kind of feel like it's like a bomb that it's a must answer that only 2 cards can answer, and you know, blue white X with Teferi or Rao or whatever. I mean, it's still good against them, right? Maybe I'm being a bit naive.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It's not nothing. I played against the Abzan deck earlier today. My opponent went turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Wild Growth Walker, turn 3 double Explore creature smash you, turn 5 play Immortal Sun, and I just scooped on the spot because I already used my Assassin's Trophy on something else. And I was like really far behind on board. But then game 2, I knew exactly what their game plan was. I didn't put myself in a position to get marched out of the game. And like I think that's how they win the majority of the time is they EOT march you, they untap, play Tristani or the Immortal Sun. As long as you can see that coming and try your best to play around it, to me, like it's a very noticeable game plan. And you know, like maybe you get people a couple times, but you're not going to get people forever. And to me, like it's a high synergy play, right? You need 2 or 3 cards to work in a motion, whereas like green black is just value. You know, if you march on the wrong turn and your opponent has a fine finality, you're in some trouble.
Fair enough. What do you think about the white splash, though?
The white splash is definitely interesting. That deck is very annoying, because it always seems to me that they always have it all. They always go Wild Growth Walker into Path of Discovery, into March of whatever it's called, explore a million times. I'm at 80 life. I have 5 lands in my hand, but the top card of my library is another March. It's like, yeah, whatever, you know, like you can have this one. I'm not playing Jeskai, right? But I don't know. I could never take a deck like that to a GP, simply because I know there are other insane people still trying to play a Jeskai in this format, still trying to play Big Red in this format. So I think that you're going to run into those people also who aren't down to play green black mirrors all day. And I don't fault them. It's not a fun game to play sometimes, but you got to do it.
So where are we at? What should people play? Is your prediction for the Pro Tour still the same, Derek? Would you still be willing to wager some hugs on how you feel about it, how the top 8 will play out?
Yeah. So I'll say this probably a million times. I think green black is just the 2 best color combination because they have all the tools to beat every deck in the format. The thing is, I honestly don't know if green black can consistently beat every deck in the format. Maybe they can beat 2 out of the 4 or 3 out of the 4. I think most other decks can only beat like 1 or 2 out of the 4. If let's say there is 4, maybe there's 5, maybe there's 6, right? I think green black has the best chance to beat every deck in the format, but that doesn't mean it'll consistently always do it. Right now, my biggest issue is the Arc-like Phoenix deck, and that's simply because it just got popular over the last week. And there's about 3 or 4 different builds. There's a bunch of different ways people are beating me. And I do think it has like a 30% fail rate. Like I think some amount of the time you're just not going to draw your Phoenixes or you're not going to have enough gas. But I think that the deck is very explosive, and up to the point where people are really respecting that deck, it's gonna be very powerful. So I'm expecting quite a bit of that. I also know that our good friend Brian really thinks that deck is good, and we didn't make any bets or anything, but he did say that he would come on the first strike to ream me out when Arclight has its breakout weekend, just so everybody knows that I'm wrong. So Brian's never coming back on the show again is basically what he's saying, and hopefully this weekend I win the GP and everybody can sub to my Twitch channel because I'm obviously a genius.
Definitely got to plug your Twitch channel. You talked about how you came up with a cyborg guy instead, and thankfully you've chosen to monetize it. I'm sure Keith is proud of you also. Instead of just posting it for free on Reddit as one of the most, as an MTG superstar, according to Rich Hagon, you've decided to give it to people who are subbing to your Twitch. So let's plug that, twitch.tv/misplaceginger. If you're going to play some Standard, you want some up-to-date sideboard guy from one of the biggest grinders on MTGO, sub to his Twitch channel. Go ahead.
Gabriel Nassif actually followed me on Twitter like literally 5 minutes ago. So if we weren't out here before, we're out here now. I have the entire team that won that Pro Tour following me on Twitter. How many people do you know that has all three of them following you on Twitter? Exactly.
Chris Pakula was an early fan, so you're getting some traction there. Andy, have you been following Standard?
Yeah, I've probably played. I've played a lot of Standard, actually, just tons and tons of Standard. I started by trying to build mono red decks, like aggro decks, because I thought Steam-kin was incredibly powerful. And I realized that Steam-kin may be a good card, but the rest of the cards were not very good, except for like Experimental Frenzy. I think the days of Little Red are over. Like the control deck has a 3-mana Wrath, and it can't even beat the green-black creature deck, really. So I don't think that deck's very good. But I've been playing a lot of Jeskai, as I suppose Derek would call me crazy. But I've been trying the list that recently that Autumn posted that's playing the Time Walks, the Nexus of Fates, and I've found my green-black and my control matchups have just like skyrocketed, just compared to how I used to win against them. And now that's the list I'm currently testing. But I played a couple PPTQs with just a normal Jeskai list, and the Time Walks are I really love that card. I love playing with that card. It shouldn't exist, but it really adds a game plan where you sort of don't care if they're like going to Carnage Tyrant you or Vraska you. You just go over the top of that. All you have to do is keep like your Teferi alive. You have a lot of card advantage engines, so like you could just like go end of turn, like explode for 7, and then go like Time Walk, play a land, do anything relevant, Time Walk again, do anything relevant, and then all of a sudden you're up like 5 lands on your opponent. You play a Teferi, and then you can keep the loop going. So that's kind of been my experience with that deck. 7-mana Explorer. It is sometimes, but I played against a control deck where I 7-mana explored 3 turns in a row while they had a Niv Mizzet in play. And so they're drawing, I'm drawing, and then eventually I play like Teferi minus it, and then I'm up 4 lands on my opponent. So then I won the game because of it.
Are those just like value Nexus, Andy, rather than a dedicated taking turn set?
No, you killed them by taking a lot of turns. And then you just burn them out twice with Explosion.
How many Nexi do you play?
4.
Yeah. I got paired against Autumn, and Autumn crushed me game 1. I think I jammed a Tyrant a turn too late, and then they just cast Nexus, play Teferi, cast Nexus, play Teferi, and then I never got another attack step. Games 2 and 3 though, I just jammed Carnage on turn 6 and won the game. But I feel like the control decks that are the plan doesn't always work, but when it works, it's sweet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think that version of Jeskai has a good matchup against green-black, and I think it has a good matchup against the other blue decks. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to keep up with these White Weenie decks that are all I play against on Magic Online right now. And so what I did is I added 4 Revitalize to the deck and just cut the Wraths, because the goal is to just get to Teferi turn.
Like turn 2 Vanguard's like game over for you.
Not with Wallamist, baby.
Really?
It's in the sideboard. Not 1, but 2.
Wow.
Turbo Mist.
Can we get a card check on that one? Sorry, I don't play draft anymore.
It's a 1 and a blue, 0/5 defender. It was in Autumn's list, so I played it, and they said that it should probably just be Seal Away, but I sort of am in love.
Somebody said this should be a better card, but I like playing the wall.
I have been blocking a lot.
You just send a message when you play Wall of Mist, which is a draft all-star.
Actually, one of the most embarrassing moments of my Magic career happened when I played turn 2 Wall of Mist against White Weenie post board, and they just baffling ended it. What's that doing in their deck? It completely won the game for them, but
You got. Oh my god.
They're so far ahead of me on the levels. Baffling end. I couldn't believe it.
You were baffled. That was your end.
It was.
That was terrible.
But yeah, so the deck just plays, like, for Ras, it's just 4 Clarion for me, and then play a bunch of Revitalize and just try. It was like 2 removal spells in the whole deck. And he just, honestly, I've been doing well with it. Over 3 leagues, I'm like 10-5. And a couple times I think I messed up. I think I lost 2 of my matches. So the deck has some promise, and I have, like, it's been an absolute one-sided affair against green-black for me. Like, Chemist's Insight is as much crap as I gave that card, it's actually a hell of a card. It's a little better than I thought.
I told you it was good.
Yeah, it was in my top 5, Derek. I'm impressed.
I think somebody said to me in a format with no energy, I think Chemist's Insight is comparable to Glimmer of Genius. If you could use the energy from Glimmer of Genius is probably better. But I think they're close.
Yeah. So basically, I thought it was bad when the only deck was like Esper control, and then when Jeskai happened, I think it's just so important that Jeskai has a lot of good 2-mana removal spells and the 3-mana sweeper. That I think that's what puts it over the edge. The 3-mana sweeper. So like when you cast it on turn 4, you can mess around with your opponent. Then on turn 7, you could like flash it back and still have a 3-mana sweeper. Like that. Those are the kind of turning points in a game. So the card's been
the sweeper that like shouldn't have been printed because it makes no logical sense.
That card's very good. It's funny because we've had like 3-mana deal 3 damage before. I don't think it's ever been this good.
It's just kind of weird, you know. You just like always choose both modes.
I literally always do, just in case I mess it up.
Yeah, like when you're on Moto, the only decks that are playing that deck are people who are insane playing Red White Angels and people who are insane playing Jeskai. And the Jeskai's players always choose both modes because why would they not just give their creatures lifelink when they have no creatures in play? Like,
well, they have a Wall of Mist, right?
Oh yeah, you know. Sometimes you have a Wall of Mist, and you just gotta give that young Wall of Mist lifelink. Just Wizards, what are you doing?
I did 5-0 with a Jeskai list that played 4 Enigma Drake and 4 Crackling Drake and 4 Clarion. And let me tell you, against those White Weenie decks, they don't stand a chance. You gain so much life and you wipe their board. That's all you do. It's your whole game plan.
I did want to kind of touch on the White Weenie deck here. My friend Marcus in Vancouver here, he won the PPTQ here. Craig Wesco quoted him, as well as Young Prodigy who was 3rd in the PTQ last week or 2 weeks before. It seems like it was pretty well positioned against Green Black, for example. And Jeskai doesn't have a clean answer to the card at Anto Vanguard. Now, of course, these secret techs like Wall of Mist, like I'm literally unbeatable and whatnot. But how do you guys think that deck is positioned right now?
I think the biggest reason that card is seeing play is simply because people are not playing around Honor Guard right now. I know for a fact when my opponent plays an Honor Guard on 2, I have a hard time winning unless I kill it. And so it's like, to me, it's been getting to weird like game spaces where you have to save your removal for Honor Guard or lose the game, or put all your things into play before they Honor Guard you. The putting all the things into play works pretty well, except the majority of their creatures beat you on curve normally. So it's sort of weird. Like when they play Honor Guard, they are pressuring you very much. If they go like Honor Guard and Knight of Benalia, you're like whatever, right? Like that's not fast enough. But if they go like Knight of Grace and Honor Guard, you're in trouble. So I don't know. I think if you just like have a cast down for the Honor Guard, you're fine. I think the rest of the deck, like on power level, is just not good enough. But I think Honor Guard is the only real card in the deck, in my opinion, from the green-black side.
Not History of Benalia. Have you ever played against two of those things?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Whenever my opponent goes turn 3 History and a turn 4 History, I just sort of like look at my computer screen and be like, why can't I get this lucky?
Yeah, I'm going to be attacked by so many 4-power creatures for so long.
Like, it doesn't matter how many Ravenous Chupacabras you have. It's just like a turn too late.
I think if you like sub White Weenie up with like some of the Boros aggro decks, I think it's tier 1. I think that it's tier 1 along with green black, and I think Jeskai is tier 1 as well.
What do you think the red
green white tokens? Go ahead.
What do you think the red adds here? Like a Boros Weenie? Like, is it like Aurelia? Is it like the heroic reinforcement?
So there's two different versions. There's a token version that's the heroic reinforcements, and I have been impressed with that card, like killing me out of nowhere a lot. But I like the versions that are sort of just like Boros Challenger, Militia Bugler, Aurelia, and I think those versions are pretty good. I've been pretty impressed with those as a whole.
I've played a third version where it's basically mono white aggro, and then they just play like a couple Fight with Fires and Bane Fires, and so they just like beat you down with Adonto Vanguard until the Adonto Vanguard like can't push through anymore, and then they just Bane Fire your face a bunch. And I've lost to that deck once or twice until I figured out what they were doing and just Wild Growth Walker them aggressively. But yeah.
Wild Growth Walker is a hell of a card.
It's single-handedly like put the white or the red weenie, the small red deck like off the map now, in my opinion.
Well, everything beats it. One of my favorite things that happened at the PPTQ I played this weekend on Sunday is my opponent played a turn 2 Vanguard on their mull to 5, and I'm playing Jeskai Control. I'm like, well, you're dead, Andy. This is it. Their mull to 5 killed you. And so on turn 2, I'm like, Justice Strike it. They're like, pay 4 life. On turn 3, I'm like, Clarion. They're like, pay 4 life. On turn 4, I Clarion. They paid 4 life. On turn 5, I cast a Cleansing Nova. They paid 4 life. And then on turn 6, I went Lyrigo. And so they're at 4, and they just go, and then I attack and kill them. One shot, one opportunity. That's all it needed, baby.
Got him.
Wow, the one time the Jeskai deck is good, when your opponent mulls to 5.
Honestly, it would not have mattered that much because all I did was cast Wraths the whole game.
I just wanted to bring it back to Modern really quick because you mentioned Militia Bugler. What's the current state of that card? Have you followed up on it in its place in Modern? Are people drifting away from it? And do you know why?
I think this is a bad timeline for Militia Bugler. Modern has become a terrible, horrible place where Militia Buglers should not be found. It's not safe for them out there. They need to go away. They need someone stronger.
I would definitely play Big Thalia here, personally.
I hate Big Thalia too, but it's probably time.
Tron, Dredge, Bloodcast coming back, tapped. I think Big Thalia is the way to go. Maybe you play like 1 or 2 Buglers, but...
Have you ever played Big Thalia on the draw?
Oh, yeah. Good night. Too late.
It's horrible.
Wow, this Modern format sure sounds like a lot of fun.
It's sort of the worst it's ever been.
Oh,
the worst it's been in a long time.
It's gotten worse. I didn't know that was possible.
Well, basically, Modern is, as a format, stuck to only getting worse, in my opinion, because as new things get introduced, it just makes things have to be more powerful than they already are to change. And so if things are changing, that things are getting more linear and more powerful.
There's no fair magic anymore. Nobody's having fun. Everybody's just looking at each other and being like, I'm sorry, I have to do this. Karn you,
deal 15 to myself, play an 8/8.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's joining each other out.
Well, that deck is the bads.
In Standard, you can still play Jund.
Andy, so people that in the SCG top 8 list that still have like 1 or 2 copies, you think they're just holding on and they should just cut them, right?
Yeah, I think they should cut them. Like 2 copies is okay. I think playing 2 for now is fine, but certainly don't play more until modern. I don't know. They ban everything. I'm
Hey,
not
Andy,
sure.
if you embrace modern for what it is and love it for what it is, which is like a big bingo game, you know, just like try to get matched up with the best matchup possible. You know,
Bingo!
Exactly, bingo, matchup bingo. Just play the lottery, have fun, do bust the stuff. If you get stopped, oh well, too bad.
So modern is obviously, like, to me at least, it's obviously like a very fun format. I think it's a fun format, but I think it is an awful competitive format, and all it does is like make me want to pull my hair out at all moments. Like if you're like, hey Andy, you have a big tournament coming up in a week, it's modern. I'm going to be in shambles for a week. But
Play
like,
Dredge.
if I'm going to a local event just to have some fun, modern's cool for that. I can play some wild deck that kills my opponent on turn 2 or 3. There's quite a few of them, and those are the only ones you want to play. And you just sleeve up a different one of those every week.
I wish you could find out if, like, on the pairings sheet it showed your deck archetype and your opponent's deck archetype. So see John look it up. Yes, bingo. Go to the seat.
Like, well, I guess I'm going to get some lunch this round.
Derek, is there anything to explore, like, tricky that you think is worth exploring? Like, you know, John can take and go into his lab and start working on and trying to break it?
I think the one thing that Standard has left to explore is that I think this format's very a shifting metagame. No one deck will be at the top. I think that like green black is the best deck to like have the cards to be at the top. But I think the week that green black's trying to beat red, it's losing to Jeskai. Or the week that it's trying to beat Jeskai, it's losing to the mirror or whatever, right? Like, so to me, I think that's where the exploration is. And so maybe cards like the Immortal Sun will pop up every once in a while, or you'll have, like, I played a Phyrexian Scriptures in a PTQ, or like you'll have like little cards like that will pop up. But I think there's no real new archetypes or new decks. It's just tuning and solving and fixing. But then again, I could always be wrong, and maybe they find Nexus of Fate for the PT again. What do I know?
So you're thinking it's more archetypical, right? No, it's less archetypical and more like tuning individual card selections.
Yeah, I think it's also deck choice. If you have the opportunity to make a different deck choice week by week, I think that's also an important thing to take a look at. But for the most part, I don't think it's going to be like they found there's a Grixis deck now, you know? Like, I don't think there is a Grixis deck, or like I think all the decks have been found.
Yes, John, Grixis. Put it on the board.
Well, let me pose this then, because you're on the format is solved camp here. Like, I have a few ideas. Disinformation Campaign. Is there anything there? Wow. Okay.
I want you to know that every time my opponent has cast Disinformation Campaign on turn 3 against me, I won the game. And it just wasn't close. I don't know how to explain it other than that, but like Dream Eaters, the rest of the deck isn't good. Disinformation Campaign on an enchantment, fine card. Dream Eater, not good. Thought Erasure, not good. The Surveil one, very good card. You have to catch them at the right time. Like, you're not a control deck, right? You can't cast Disinformation Campaign on turn 3 and counter my spell on turn 3, right? So, like, it's very hard for you to have a Disinformation Campaign in play, for you to have a surveil mechanic in play or abusable. Like you can't play Doom Eater or Doom Weeper, Doom Whisperer in your deck and have a counterspell in your deck if I have Ravenous Chupacabra in my deck, right? Like it just doesn't function that way. And every deck I've seen try to abuse Disinformation Campaign doesn't do it. Maybe in the future, maybe it's the sideboard tech if the format becomes like when the new format comes out, if there's like a really degenerate control deck, maybe you can put some Disinformation Campaigns in your sideboard for the control mirror. But right now I cannot see any spot for that card.
Interesting.
One cool thing to me about this format, and Derek sort of touched on it, is that, so let's say of the viable decks, you could say the Jeskai is a strategy, green-black is a strategy, mono-red in whatever capacity, and like mono-white. All these decks have so many ways you could build them. It's insane. Like when we get a deck dump, for whatever reason we didn't get one, it's going to be like 60 decks, and they're just going to be like 5 different copies of all these different decks because there's so many different ways to build them. And that's the cool part going into this Pro Tour at the very least, is that like it's not solved. There's no best whatever list of each of them yet, and nobody's fully solved that yet until we get to the point where like our deck dumps are getting smaller because there's only 2 green-black decks. Then we'll have a more solved format. But I think for now, the format's in a cool place where there's a lot of variation on these archetypes that are known. Like even the blue-red deck, there's tons of different ways I've seen people build that deck, and like they play out wildly different sometimes. So I've been impressed with the variety within archetypes.
Well, I guess one more thought here is like Derek and the KYT here. I don't think the cards Arclight Phoenix and Experimental Frenzy has been solved yet, and I think they are very inherently powerful cards. So I know you mentioned, Derek, that the Izzet Arclight decks, it's giving you some trouble some of the times. Do you think there's something there? And do you think that the optimal list for Frenzy has already been discovered? Because I don't think it has been.
So I'll touch on the Arclight Phoenix because I think it's easier. The reason I don't like the Arclight Phoenix deck is because for you to have Arclight Phoenix, I'll just say Phoenix, as a functioning card in your deck, you need to have some amount of spells in your deck. So you have a deck building restriction, you have a power restriction. In the Phoenix is only a 3/2, and it can be exiled really easy. So you have not a lot of threats. And then you have some amount of randomness, and you're like milling through your library, trying to hit these Phoenixes, trying to kill your opponent. So like I think Phoenix is powerful in a vacuum, in a sense that like if it gets turned on, it's very good. I think that in a format like Modern, it's probably more abusable because there's more ways to consistently abuse it, where in Standard, there's less ways. Like in this format, if my opponent goes turn 2 Goblin Electromancer and I don't kill it, I'm probably dead. If I kill it, they're probably dead. And like that's what I found in the matchup. To me, in Modern, it doesn't matter, right? You can just play all these 1-drop cantrips, mill your library, and like I don't know if you want to be playing Dredge card. I don't know how Holy Diva built their list, but I think it's more abusable. As for Experimental Frenzy, I think that card is so insanely powerful that no matter how you build your deck, you can never solve it, if that makes sense. Because it's so powerful that, like, to some extent, if you're making it better, there's more area, like there's no ceiling on it. I think the floor is rather high. I think the floor on the card, like it's bad more often than people think it is, but the ceiling on it is so much, like so drastically high that it's hard for me to say like that this card can ever be solved, if that makes sense. So I think both those cards are very good Standard cards also.
Interesting.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Derek, let's talk about your stream a little bit as well. Are things going better? Or are you seeing an increase in subs? And I just want to know the health of streaming Magic or Arena right now. Just a quick little update on that.
So Wizards, this is just what I know. I don't know the actual. I didn't get an email on this or anything. But Wizards paid Twitch to put MTG Arena on what's called a bounty board. And so if you're a partnered streamer, you can stream a game on the bounty board and you get paid based on your viewers. So when you see people stream MTG Arena, you'll see hashtags sponsored. So that's why we saw Raynad. That's why we saw, I think it was Dan's Gaming. And we saw, I think, Nox at the first hashtag streaming. And they were getting like 2 to 5K viewers, right? It's like, why are these people streaming Arena? It's because there's a bounty board. So Arena right now is very, very popular because there seems to also be a trickle-down effect. Streamers like Thunderbolt Hellkite, who started out on Moto, went over to Arena Beta streaming. He really kicked off when that happened because there was sort of like a trickle-down effect of people coming over from Nox's stream to his stream to another streamer named Elias V, I think it is. And so there's like this Arena community that's really prospering and exploding. I think even Semulin's blowing up a bit too. I've seen his name up there and he's on the streamer stuff. Moto is like also getting this trickle down effect, but a lot more newer players, I don't think, and rightfully so, don't understand Moto or don't like it as much. So like my stream has been expanding a little bit, but I think it's also because it's a new standard format and I'm one of the only standard streamers because everybody's either testing for the PT or banned. So I think like it's been good for me and it's good for Arena. And I think in general, Magic on Twitch has been very, 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 very good. I think it's seen one of the biggest growths that I've seen in a lot of Twitch games other than like Fortnite or League of Legends, you know, like I think we were higher than Hearthstone for a bit. There was like a day where we were higher than Hearthstone or something.
Wow, that's amazing.
Like we were top 25 or something. I can't remember what exactly it was, but it was like some astronomical amount of people were watching Magic. And it was because of the sponsored Hearthstone streams. And I think it's really good. It's a step in the right direction.
Wow, making inroads to being the top card game CCG stream. I like that. All right. Good luck in your event, Andy. Are you playing any GPs?
Yeah, I'm going to GP New Jersey.
All righty.
Nice. I'll see you there.
Oh hell yeah! Pew, 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 pew.
Jeskai versus Green Black. For Andy, John, and Derek, and John probably because he has to go hide himself at work or something. We will see you next week, and good luck to everyone going to New Jersey. Good luck to everyone flying to the GP. I know a lot of the face-to-face game staff is actually flying to France, so good luck to everyone playing that as well. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this show, and we'll see you next time. Love you guys.